We are going over the monthly report, but we already did the rest of it. Features and AI and narrative and missions and all that stuff. Now we're going to go over ships. So welcome back for our monthly ship tracking ship sheet, where we track the ships and ship the sheet. You can follow this on Space Tomato Gaming /ship tracking, I believe. But if you're here live with me, you can follow it right here in person as we stumble through our this mess of a sheet where we try to figure out everything that's going on. To kick off, in the UK, the ship's team supported the release of the Anvil Paladin, the Xperia Stinger, and the Grey's Market Shiv at CitizenCon Direct. Those are the first 3 of 9 ships that are being released between CitizenCon and end of year. It's insane. It's so many. Even when they used to release this many ships, half of them were concepts. We've got the Anvil Paladin marked as released. Where is that on here? Hello, Pally. Mr. Anvil Pally. Released and confirmed. We had the expected release of IAE 2025, but we were wrong about that. Next up was the Stinger. The Vanduul Stinger. So that was probably one of these unknown ships. Unannounced ships. All right, so we got the possible Stinger here. Heavy fighter entered official production in May, passed white box in July, entered gray box in August, moved to final stage in September. We're going to go ahead and say released in October at CitizenCon. Vanduul Stinger. I love getting unannounced ships off this, man. It's great. It feels good. It brings warmth to my toes. We've also got the Grey's Shiv. That'll be another unannounced vehicle. It was likely in the Lot 0, so we'll pick one of these. This one was progressing towards full production in April. White box in May. Actually, you know what? The Grey's Shiv was already done. Were we even tracking the Grey's Shiv on the monthly reports? Because we already know this ship existed for Squadron 42. In fact, now that I think of it, the Stinger also did. Both of those ships existed for Squadron 42. So how do we even judge which of those ships might have been on the monthly reports? That's really weird. I know that they went through some work, obviously, but I don't think they went through a white box, gray box. Yeah, this one's working on animations for moving elements in July, I think, with cargo. So probably not that. Yeah, I think I might want to mark these as their own lines just to be sure. So create the Vanduul Stinger, and this is a new model, heavy fighter, released straight flyable from Squadron 42 at CitizenCon Direct 2025, and then make Grey's Shiv. Same idea, heavy fighter, released straight to flyable, same thing. I don't know, it's weird. Let's continue. Work on the Aegis Hammerhead and RSI Aurora continued to bring them up to modern standards. For the Hammerhead design are currently setting up the revisions, including the addition of blast doors throughout the corridors and an updated component placement. The Aurora is currently awaiting downstream support, particularly for audio and VFX, as these feature some of the oldest in-game assets. I really like the Hammerhead interior. Hammerhead interior, in my opinion, was one of the cooler interiors in the game. I love it when the lights are off in there, so it'll be cool to see it updated. Blast doors in the corridor are smart because you're going to be losing atmosphere a lot in a ship like that. But these are gold standard updates, so let's go ahead and add these to our inputs already here. We got the Aurora at the Gold Pass area. Last update is November 5th, and I thought the expected release was October. I'm actually kind of thinking maybe now it'll be December, so I was wrong about that. The other ship that they just talked about was the Aegis Hammerhead. Here we go. Rework Gold Pass in progress. Did they say, like, is there a time at which they're at? Let's see. They're both bring up to modern standards. Currently awaiting downstream support, particularly for audio and VFX. Hammerhead is setting up the revisions. So it's like gray box and Lot 0 stuff, really. I'm just going to put them both at Lot 0. Last update for this one is also November 5th, and the Q4 2025 belief is still mine, and it is still high. I do think they could get this out by end of year, but maybe not. Maybe they won't. Maybe it's a January release. Continuing on, the Hull B is currently being prepared for its white box review, with the final touches being made to ensure it hits the required functionality criteria. We know that lovely Hull B. Let's go ahead and just say it's approaching its white box review. Yes. So it's still in white box, progressing in white box in September, approaching white box, review in October. I'm still thinking spring of 2026 release. I don't know about you guys, but it's a cool ship, and it'll be interesting considering cargo hauling is taking some steps up As long as we can have more reliable trading lanes and more interesting commodities to trade that are balanced around supply and demand, 384 SCU of cargo is going to allow you to do a lot. And this one should be able to still land on atmosphere. So you're not limited from the planets like you are with the Hull C. Definitely more of a cargo hauler ship than the Hull A. And I think a little bit better, easier to handle than the Hull C. I think the Hull B might actually be the bread and butter when it comes to the Hull series. We'll see how people like it when it comes out. Both the Drake Ironclad models and the command module progressed well into gray box, with geometry and lighting updates to the modular kits helping set the interior tone throughout. But don't worry guys, we might still get the Ironclad for IAE. The Drake Ironclad is approaching white box review in September, and now it is progressing well into gray box. Good for us. They're making progress. Progressing well in gray box in October. Still on its way. I'm still thinking a May of 2026 release, medium to high confidence. I'm gonna put that as high. It's like really, really perfectly timed. And we move this one up to the gray box. 4 unannounced ships progressed through October. The first is on track for its final review in early November, while the second is art complete and currently with the downstream teams. All right, so I'm just gonna assume that one of these is our Drake mystery ship, which I'm gonna go ahead and spoiler alerts. If you don't want to know spoilers, don't look at what I type here. But we know the name of the Drake mystery ship. We still don't know what it's going to be, but it's definitely in production and it's close to coming out. I do think this is probably what this is. Final review in early November. That is getting pretty close though to a release in November. If you wanted to do your release, final review in the same month is cutting it close, but they've done worse. Suspected unannounced ship in final review in November, just so that we can remember it when we come back to it if this is the case. Expected release November 2025. Confidence medium. I'm gonna say it's probably a final art. I mean, probably, it literally says it right here. The second one is art complete and currently with the downstream teams. So that second one could very well be the Salvation, which is a new salvaging ship from RSI. Could be the new Greycat. Let's see. We could have this other art, final art, unannounced. Oh man, what's it gonna be? What is it going to be? Kicked off progress. White box in July, progressing towards full production in April, Lot 0 in September. This one was white box in July, and we don't even know. Like this, I don't know if I lost this one or not. We don't know what this is, even though I have it marked as released. Unknown variant, no. Unannounced vehicle, Lot 0. Gray box in September, Lot 0 in October. So we had 2 unannounced and Lot 0 in October. If for each month we report the 4 unannounced are always in the same order listed. Yeah, I need to find a better way to track unannounced ships. I think I'm going to move all of these to their own section. And I'm going to try and figure out how I can work with these differently, because it's not, unannounced vehicle tracking is just not working. It ain't happening. It could be the freaking variant for the Wolf. Yeah. I mean, we've got that down here. Wolf variant, possibly. L22, maybe. But there's nothing to differentiate them to help us track them throughout the months, so I don't know. The third is an upcoming variant passed as Lot 0. Following this, the downstream team begins their tasks ahead of its final review. Okay, so there's a good chance this is the L22 Wolf. So let's go ahead and assume that. Past its Lot 0, which means it's at final art. Past Lot 0 in October. And we're going to assume an IAE 2025 launch with high confidence, and we'll update this to say possible L22. At least there's that, which means that the previous one is not the variant. It's just an art complete. I'm gonna go ahead and list that as the possible, let's say it's this. Is this the Salvation? Lot 0, what was it? Final review in November. We'll come back to this and we'll see. We'll check it out next month, I guess. That'd put it at final art release imminent, basically. The fourth one, art was completed for an all-new ship before it continued down the pipeline, with paints being created alongside a full pass from Q&A. Guessing that's the fourth unannounced ship. Art is being completed. So that's final art review. Maybe it's this vehicle. Final art in November, we're gonna say. That's our unannounced vehicles and ships and stuff. It's ridiculous. I'm not a fan of this section of it. Let's continue on with things we actually know about. Another vehicle, the Greycat UTV, which was briefly shown during the introduction of the STV, entered its white box phase. This is a really easy one to find. We were talking about this earlier this year. We were asking where the heck happened with the UTV? When is it coming out? And here it is. Crazy how that happens, huh? Those of you who come to this stream often, you were definitely here for this earlier in the summer. We were touching back on, I think it was a CitizenCon presentation. Was it this one? Yeah, it was this CitizenCon. They showed us the updated, what's it called? That I still don't think we have this one. They showed us the UTV,
which is the utility terrain vehicle, and we've actually reconcepted the PTV, and we have the concept of the UTV,
the PTV,
and when you see all three side by side,
and then the STV. So now we're gonna have the STV, the PTV, and the UTV, which will be used for different things on the ground. Thank you, Greycat. We love our TVs. Finally, for the UK team, pre-production kicked off on the Anvil Liberator. This phase is before official production begins and aims to get a solid base for the wider team to use for further estimation and concept requests to aid in smoother delivery. Love to hear it. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, earlier this year in May, we talked about the Liberator at length. And it was an interesting talk. I'll link this for you so that you can hear all the details about this ship. We won't go over it right now. We'll do another touch-up when they start to give us more details about it again. But I think this is a good one to watch. It talks about kind of the unique nature of the Liberator, why people are excited for it, what it could be used for. And a lot of it's coming from the devs who were building it. So it is useful information. Not always the most reliable, but it'll give you something. And then obviously we went back into monthly reports, or I guess this is the Q&A, to look at what the ship actually has to offer to players, which I do have pulled up here, but we won't get too deep into that. Basically, it is meant to be a transport ship. It's a pocket carrier. You can slap like several vehicles on it. You can put a couple of ships on it, and you can use this to ferry your stuff around from system to system. Maybe you want to move everything that you've got from one planet to another in another system. You could hire someone with a Liberator and say, we're going to put all of my stuff on here, get it over there, and make my permanent move. Obviously, this will be really useful for org logistics. Probably be used as a lot of people's home base, just floating somewhere out in space that has anything you really need to do your operations. And it's probably a precursor to stuff like the Kraken, which also has exterior landing pads that have to be able to move. So this is likely going to include some tech developments to get working, but it is a key ship that we were expecting to see sometime around the Pyro introduction. So I'm glad they're working on it finally. It does sound like it's still in pre-production. Yeah. So not quite anywhere close to coming out, but we will add it because that's what we do. That's why we're here. The Anvil Lib, the filthy Anvil Lib. We're gonna call this one Pocket Carrier. And it is in pre-production. Began pre-production in October of 2025. What else did they have to say about it? Solid base for the wider team to use for further estimation and concept requests to aid in smoother delivery. So it's going to be a cool minute. They probably won't kick off on full production on this until like next year, maybe January or February. I'm thinking this might be a 27 release. It would be surprising for this to get released in 26, at least as of where they are with it right now. But it is possible. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and put this as like a, could they finish this by next year? I think I'm gonna give myself a little bit of leeway, and I'm gonna say January of 2027. That's low confidence, though. I don't know about that. It's not a huge ship, but it is, and I don't know what's gonna happen in terms of like the tech that they need to release this. I'm sure plenty of people will say, it's the same. It's just it's just landing on normal places, and it should be fine. But you just never know. It also says here that it's not equipped to sustain support continuous carrier operations like a true carrier, and it's lacking repair, refueling, and rearming facilities. So it doesn't need all of that stuff that they're working on feature-wise. But it is 119 meters long and 67 meters wide, and it does have a interior of sorts. Like there's still, it looks like a bunch of landing pads, but there's still plenty to model on the inside. So a ship like this within a year, I don't know. This is pretty big. I would love to be wrong about it because I think this is going to be an interesting ship to use, but I think it's too early to make a call. So we're making a call because that's all we do. It's tentative. We'll see. Next time we get an update on this one, probably January or February, we'll have a better idea of it, I think. All right, continuing on the North American team progress with 2 unannounced vehicles. One is currently with downstream teams for closeout ahead of its final review, while the second is approaching its gray box review in early November. I hate you guys. Okay. So this one, 2 unannounced vehicles, one in white box and one in gray box. Both of these were in October. Actually, let's go back real quick. If by some chance they do mention those are both North American ships, then we're lucky. North American team began. This very well could mean that the North American team worked on these 2. One moved through gray box while the second entered white box. And now one is in Lot 0 while the other is in gray box. That actually makes sense. They both moved up one path in this month. I think we're okay. In September, one in final review and one in gray box in October. Yeah, nice. See, that's what I'm talking about. This gives us a way to understand that these 2 unannounced ships are still the same unannounced ones or vehicles as from before. One approaching final review. All right, split the difference and call them Lot 0. And the last update on these is new expected release December and January. If they even do something in January, it's going to put that at high confidence. Elsewhere, the RSI Perseus had a large-scale developer and QA playtest this month to check its robustness and intent in combat, which was a great success. They're testing the ships. That is good. Testing these ships on large-scale situations before you're releasing it. Good call. Good idea. I'm not seeing it on here though. Where is my Perseus? There we go. RSI Perseus, patrol boat, final art, release imminent, we're going to say. Play tests in October. The fact that I don't even think they mentioned to work on it. Yeah, they're just doing QA and play testing on this thing. It is definitely getting ready to release. Whoops. IAE 2025. We're going to call confidence on this immaculate. And then finally, white box work continued on the Drake Kraken with more developers moving onto it as other projects were completed. Good for you, Kraken boy. Drake Kraken is a huge project. Probably the biggest ship that they're working on right now. Is it the biggest ship we've ever seen in the game besides the Idris? Still in white box. Still in... Actually, I don't have to put that as still in white box. But let's update our last update to November. Still thinking of Q4 2026, honestly. Maybe even Invictus 27. It could be IAE next year. But IAE next year even feels early. IAE 2026. Let's say... IAE 2026 / the year of 27. Covering my ass. And I get to do it because I make the rules. That's what's up. Okay, so we didn't get any update on the Apollo cargo variant. Unless it is one of these unannounced vehicles, it very well could be. In which case, we'll just have to come back around and fix that next year or next month. But I do think that quite a few of these things got up. Actually, not that many things got updated. Let me sort it by what got updated today. Oh, this one. Not too many. 7 ships got updated today. Did they? Oh, the Ironclad got updated today. So did the Paladin, the Hull B. Yeah, I'm just not even... This one did. Meteor released unknown variant. Unbelievable design language. Greycat Perseus. I didn't even mark that as getting updated. RSA Apollo, we're good on that. Wolf, yes, related to Apollo, but not announced. That could have been updated. We just don't really know. And then the Vandal Stinger. Stinger got updated. Gray Ship got updated. I actually have the RSI Salvager here. So let me see where this says, is this the Salvation? Okay, so I have an unannounced ship and I also have a ship that I think is the RSI Salvager. So I'm just going to move, gonna have to link this one. RSI Salvager. I'm going to say could be row 22. So let's see. Either way, thanks for coming. I hope this was a good deep dive into the ships for you. See you in the next one.